Thank you. Well, that concludes our community question time, and thank you for that participation. Declare our ordinary meeting of council Tuesday, 21 May 2024 at the Melrose. Declare that open at 6:01 p.m. Please, Councillor Tate, if you'd like to do the acknowledgement for us, please.
We would like to acknowledge this land that we meet on today is the traditional land of the Nookanoe people, and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Nookanoe people as the traditional custodians of the Nookanoe region, and that their cultural and heritage belief are still as important to the living Nookanoe people today.
Thank you. Councillor Keller.
Thank you. If we could all stand, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we've recently celebrated Mother's Day. We can all relate to a mother in our life and take the time to thank and remember them. We also appreciate what mothers contribute to our communities. Be with our farmers as they patiently wait for a break to a new season. We pray that they take care of themselves, their families and their livestock, as many are currently carting water and hand feeding. We pray for wisdom to provide good governance for the District Council of Mount Remarkable in the service for our community. Amen. Now, we have a number of residents that have passed away since our last meeting, being Mr. Kevin Ralph Girdham, formerly of Melrose, Rosemary Whitehead, formerly of Wilmington, and Edward Hip, formerly of Wilmington. And we also remember those who have made the supreme sacrifice in the service of their country at sea, on land and in the air. So we'll take a moment's silence. Lest we forget.
Okay. Right, moving into the order of business, administrative matters at 1.1. Apologies, Councillor Colin Nottle is not here. I'm feeling so well. 1.2, leave of absence, there is nil. At 1.3, do any of the elected members have a conflict of interest with any of the items this evening? That'd be a no. No. At 1.4, the confidential provision, noting there are no confidential items in this agenda. Do any members wish to have the opportunity to discuss any items within this agenda under confidential provision? Please. Thank you. 1.5, previous meeting minutes, ordinary council in April 2024. We have that there in front of us. We'll have a mover for that there, Councillor Down. Thank you. I have a second for that, Councillor. Thank you. Do you wish to speak to that, Councillor? No, this is a debate. That too. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried. 1.6, action list. Council receives a notice of report. Do I have a mover for 1.6, please? Do I have a second for that report, please? Oh, make that. Councillor Schultz, you wish. Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry, my apologies. Councillor Schultz, do you wish to speak to that? I have nothing further to add. There's no further questions or debate. Let's vote. All those in favour? Carried. Excuse me. 1.7, deferred or adjourned items. There are nil. Presentations, petitions and deputations at 0.2. There are nil. 3, reports of committees. 3.1, audit and risk committee meeting 10 May 2024. Motion there is the minutes of the audit and risk committee meeting of 10 May 2024 be noted. Resolutions within be endorsed. So do I have a mover for that, please? Councillor. Thank you. Second for that, please, Councillor Schultz. Do you wish to speak to that?
Yes, please. I actually zoomed into this meeting, very interesting Audit and Risk Committee meeting, and I think it went twice as long as expected, but there was a lot on the agenda. There were some very, I believe, pertinent comments made by Mr. John Comrie, the chair of it, that were quite relative, and some of these things will be discussed further in our agenda. But you know, he talked about sustainability, which is the key issue, it seems to be at the moment, and also, you know, things that we can address or maybe look at. But I'd like to support that meeting, as I think it was a very thorough and good meeting.
Thank you. Councillor. Do you have any?
No.
Okay. Is any further questions or debate on that? I'll put that to the motion. All those in favour? Carried. You're doing them individually, aren't we?
Just those two that I've outlined in the agenda, so it's not for whole motions, it's,
No.
it says recommends to the council.
Correct. Yep. Good. So 3.8, financial sustainability. There's a series of recommendations that were put by the Audit and Risk Committee that are outlined there. Do I have a mover for those recommendations, Councillor Down? Thank you. Do I have a statement, please? Second. Okay, Councillor Down, do you wish to speak to that?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I suppose, just to be careful, 3.8, I think, comes from the Risk Committee minutes rather than from our minutes. But what I wanted to really just say is I do fully support this, as I did on the day, and point out that our draft budget is still a work in progress. We have not delivered all of the things in the audit into our draft budget yet, which the Audit and Risk Committee recommends. When we don't have to, it's their recommendation. I think we should, and I just wanted to highlight that it's still a work in progress, and some of those things have been. Not yet.
Yep, noted. Thank you very much. I'll make a comment on this one if I can. Look, the input from those very learned people that do sit on that committee, and they are there as independents, provide us with valuable independent outlooking in eyes, and their information to us is very valuable, very clear and succinct, and we have the message that we need to continue to utilise our skills, etc. So if there's not any further questions or debate on that matter, I put that to the motion. All those in favour? Carried. So 3.12 draft 24-25 annual business plan and budget for public consultation. There's a recommendation there, again from the Audit and Risk Committee. Do I have a mover for that recommendation, please? Councillor Dan, thank you. Councillor Schultz. Thank you. Do you wish to speak to that further?
Just to distinguish, I suppose, the one we just discussed is really very much about principles of sustainability and making sure that that's a real focus in our budget. These are the more specific things that the ARC has recommended, and yeah, we are in progress, but still lots of work to do.
Indeed. Okay, Councillor Schultz, you wish to speak.
I just endorse what Dan has said. I think it's been a pretty thorough process that they've gone through, and obviously we need to pay pretty strong attention to their advice.
Agreed. Well, are there any further questions or debate on that motion? In case I put that to the vote, all those in favour? Carried. For reports of officers at 4.1, budget update as at 30 April 2024. Council receives and notes the report. Do I have a mover for 4.1, please? Councillor Schultz. I have a second for that, please. Councillor Dan, thank you. You wish to speak to that, Councillor Schultz? Councillor Dan.
No, we'll have plenty of chance to talk about the budget.
Okay. All right, there's no further questions or debate on that report. Put that to vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried. 4.2, 2023-24 infrastructure operational monthly update, April 2024. I have that report be received and noted. Do I have a mover for that report, please? Councillor Schultz. Do I have a second for that, please? Councillor Dan, thank you. Do you wish to speak to that? No.
No, thanks.
No further questions or debate on that matter. I put that to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. You just saw your finger moving, that was all, councillor Tate.
Sorry.
Thank you. 4.3, 2023-24 capital projects monthly update, April 2024. That the report be received and noted. Do I have a mover for that 4.3, please? Councillor Evans. Do I have a second for that, please? Councillor Keller. Do you wish to speak to that? Councillor Keller. Okay. There's no further questions or debate on that matter. I put that to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Oh, excuse me. 4.4 Code of Practice Meeting Procedures at Council and Council Meetings 04.02. And there is 3 recommendations there. Do I have a mover for
I'd like to move option 2, Mayor.
option 2? Okay. Do I have a councillor Tate? And do you wish to speak to that?
I do. Thank you, Mayor. Option 2, just to be very clear for everybody here, is that we receive and note the report without adopting the proposed draft. And I feel very strongly that that's exactly what we should do. Back in February, we were given a proposed draft, which we all read through and looked and considered, and decided to put it out to public consultation. Part of that public consultation, part of the draft, which went to public consultation, was about removing the opportunity for community question time immediately before these meetings, which we've discussed today. It's a bit unfortunate sometimes. Before that draft was put together, we had a series of community question times where not many people came and not many questions were asked, and we were sitting here for a while. That particular night, we had an incredibly busy night, and we could have had community question time for an hour or two. Tonight, by coincidence that we're here to discuss it, we're not good people here, but we didn't have half an hour worth of questions. So, that is what it is. But I'd like to make a very strong point in that we went to public consultation. We got essentially overwhelming proposals from the community that we retain community question time. So I think we should. But the recommendation that's given to us today is that we don't. And I'm disappointed in that. But that is as it is. Recommendations to come to councils, and collectively we make our decision. So the 2 options that have been given to us, and I'm not going to propose a third, but the 2 options that have come to us are stick with the original draft, which excludes community consultation, or just receive the report, understand it, and come back to this issue later. I know that there are other councillors who have other issues they'd like to address within that draft. So I think it's important that we do that. We won't be able to resolve all of those things tonight, in my opinion. So as unfortunate as it is to kick the can down the road, which is not my natural desire, I absolutely do not support the draft that's in front of us, which ignores the community consultation. And so I feel the only thing that I can move and support tonight is option 2, which is to receive and note the report. And importantly, we must come back to this piece of work because it's not something we can just ignore. There are improvements that we can make.
If I can just Councillor Dan, option 2, so for me, at 4.4 code of practice, the number 1, the council receives a notes report, not number 2.
No, the option 1 has 3 parts to it. Yes. Option 2 has 1 part to it.
Yeah.
So option 1.
That's not showing on here.
No, it's not.
Sorry, it's on going off the running.
Yeah, it's not on the running sheet.
Okay.
It is page 60
Yep.
of the agenda.
No, it's my apologies, but it's not on here.
Sure, yep, gotcha.
Okay, yep.
So may I just to be clear for everybody then, Mayor, so the agenda that went out has 2 possible options. One has 3 points to it: receive and note the report, notes the feedback, which has been included, and adopts the draft. Option 2 is just receive and note, which excludes the part that recommends that we ignore the feedback, to be quite honest.
Yep, no, thank you. Councillor Tate, you seconded that. Do you wish to speak to what Councillor Dennis said?
Yes, sorry, I'm trying to find it too in
Page
the option.
60.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, given the conversation tonight and the feedback that we've received from community, I think we would be quite arrogant and disrespectful not to take on what community has expressed. And I do believe that that should be reinstated into the draft, that we maintain community question time. But I'm happy to support what Councillor Down has put forward, and if we come back to consider that at a later date, but I think we cannot disregard what communities put forward. It's really, you know, they've overwhelmingly expressed that it's something that they need, and I think it's demonstrated whether we have 2 people one night or 22 people. I think it should be there, a formalised process for everyone.
Essentially, you're endorsing Councillor Dan. Thank you very kindly. Okay, if there's any further debate on that, Councillor Keller.
If I could just make a comment, Mayor, I found the motions in the agenda quite complex to read, and I'd like to see a far simpler motion. And I appreciate Councillor Dan's scholarship in deciphering it and explaining it to us.
Yep, thank you. Right, there's no questions or further debate on that. I put that as Councillor Dan has proposed. Those in favour? Carried. 4.5, community land management plans review. Council members received the presentation of the briefing session held on Friday, 17 of May. Additional wording is inserted in red below as a discussion at the briefing session. Further to that, I'd like to note the significant amount of time, skills, patience, and tolerance to work through the tremendous body of work that our advisor has provided us. And I put that there. Now there are 2 parts to that motion. Do I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Keller, thank you. Do I have a second for that, please, Councillor? Okay, do you wish to speak to that, Councillor?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. I just endorse your comments about how much work has gone into this land management plans. And, you know, with all the numbers and figures that are in there, it's quite easily for little mistakes to occur. And I think that they've been picked up. And I noted a couple, and Lee's altered a couple other things. And I think for the size of the document, it's been gone through very thoroughly, and the workshop gave the opportunity to explain it. So to me, it's straightforward what's in the agenda for us to adopt tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Keller. Councillor Evans, do you-
I just agree with what Danny said. The amount of work that Lee did was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully we don't have to have her taking over the office again. With papers spread everywhere like she did last time. So thank you. Is there any further questions or debate on that? All those in favour? Carried. Four point six, Audit and Risk Committee reappointment of independent member, Mr. Chris Kelly. There are three parts to that motion. Do I actually have a mover? 4.6, please. Councillor Dan, thank you. I'm happy to second that.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I've only been on the Audit and Risk Committee for 2 meetings, essentially. I've never met Chris Kelly face to face, but he's been on the screen twice. And I think he is actually outstanding. I think he has very high capacity and very high application. Councillors would all have noted that he gets paid $9,600 to do this work per year if he attends 12 meetings. It's a lot of money, but I can also assure councillors that in the world of doing that sort of work, it is actually at the very low end of the type of money that people get paid for that. So while we've had a lot of discussions about budgets, and everybody knows my view about having to find savings and consider the level of services that we provide, I do think that that this is extremely good value for an extremely good member of that committee.
Absolutely, thank you. Look, I might, the risk of just backing onto what you just said, I actually really appreciate all of those things that you just said, but he participates fully in every meeting we've had, every part of every agenda item, etc. And he brings value and clarity to everything that he says. So I would be very much endorsing that we continue his services. Okay. Is there any further questions or debate on that? Okay. So, Councillor Daniel moving points 1, 2 and 3. Thank you. And I'm supporting that. All those in favour? Carried. 4.7. We have 3 parts of that recommendation there. Purchase of residential property. Do I have a mover for that topic, please? Councillor Dan. Thank you. Oh, sorry, and Evans. Thank you. If you wish to speak to that.
Yeah, look, all we're asking for here, all that's proposed here, is that we essentially look into this very thoroughly. I think we'd be crazy not to look into it, whether we were to purchase a property or rent a property. To be doing this right now when we have a change of CEO, we don't know who the new CEO would, we don't know whether that person would need a house or not need a house, but this is exactly the right time to be looking at this. And I guess try to be very clear for everybody. Let's say we purchased a house for $300,000 nominally. That's not a $300,000 hit to our budget. The interest and some of the other costs would be a hit to our budget. It might be hit to our cash, might be hit to a loan balance. It would be a benefit to our asset. I'm not suggesting that we go off and buy a house. I just want to make it very clear that I think we should definitely look into it and suggest that people should not be concerned that if we were to do it, that it has the sort of impact on the budget the way it might appear as if it was a family budget where you don't have the differentiation between capital and operational expenditure. But of course, that's a discussion we can have later on after receiving the report if we decide to progress.
Absolutely. Thank you. And we'll put, and I think that provides some clarity on that point there. Councillor Evans, do you wish to speak further?
No.
Yeah, thank you. And I think I can't emphasise enough exactly what Councillor Dan has just put forward there. There are complexities in the way that budgets, particularly the council has to deal with, and the way that they are structured versus the way that we would run a normal business or our own budgets. And so this is not going out there and getting into silly debt, etc. We are looking to get a report and we can then determine that from a report to the chamber and work it out from there. Thank you very much. If there's no further questions or comments and debate on that, I'll put that to debate. All those in favour? Carried. 4.8, draft economic development plan. Three parts to that recommendation. Do I have a mover for 4.8, please? Okay. Move that. Do I have a second for that report, please? Councillor Dan, thank you. I'll ask myself a question when I speak on that. I did find of interest that we did not receive any submissions because interestingly our community are generally very involved and provide commentary, so only assume that we've actually got this one fairly right. So thank you very much. There's no further questions or debate. Councillor Dan, do you want to speak any further? That to the vote, all those in favour? Carried. Thank you. 4.9, adoption of Northern and York LGA annual business plan and budget 2024-25, formerly the Legatus Group. Do I have a mover for 4.9, please? Okay, I'll move that if I can. I have a second for that report, please, Councillor Keller. Okay. I would like to make an amendment to that report, so we will have to come back to you, Councillor Keller, for the second of that. But I would like to add that we support the feedback provided by Port Pirie and the Orrery councils. As a second part to that motion, please.
So
we need the right language for that.
So through the chair, that's not an amendment. You would be moving option. So two recommendations.
Yep.
One being that council receives and notes the report, and two that council. What was the word you used?
Council supports.
Council supports the position as already provided by the District Council of Orrery, Carriton and Port Pirie Regional Council.
Exactly what I was going to say.
That's the second.
Page 467.
483.
480.
Oh, sorry, no, 466. Right, all good? Okay. So Councillor Keller, you understand what I've just done there? And
Yes, I
support
that.
Excellent, thank you. No further questions or debate? No. Well, then I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. 4.10, regional childcare desert advocacy project working party in terms of reference. There are 5 parts to that motion. Do I have a mover for 4.10, please, Councillor Keller? Sorry, Councillor Kate. Yep. Thank you. Councillor Keller, do you wish to speak to that?
Yes, if I can, Mayor. It's something I know that the Wilmington community has been working on for quite a while, and that they have a real need for it. But it's not only the Wilmington communities, there's many rural communities, and I'm pleased to see this go to a larger organisation, which I presume is RCD DAP, not one that rolls off your tongue, but we'll remember it. Because I think it is important for our communities. I know the likes of where Bullaroo Centre has got kindy and childcare. It's a very important part of the community, and it is lacking in some of our other areas in our council. So if this group can work to attain better childcare in our area, I think it's essential. And interestingly enough, they're now taking 3-year-olds into kindy. So when does school start for a 2-year-old? Next year. So that the intakes are getting younger and younger, but also there's professional mothers out there that aren't able to work because they can't get childcare. I think this is a very important item to pursue and move forward with.
That's great. Thank you. Indeed. Councillor Tate.
Yeah, I just concur with Councillor Keller. It clearly is really important that we need to support women to be in the workforce, and it's disappointing to see that the electorate of Grey has been recognised as the worst in the country in regards to childcare. I've recently been advertising the position and a number of people have rung up and it's about their hours and how they can do childcare and it doesn't suit. So a lot of people, you lose good people out of the pool. So 100% on board with this one and great way forward, I think.
Thank you. I might just jump in there if I can and acknowledge the great work and effort and commitment by the CEO at Oraroo Carroll. Really taken it on himself to continue to run with this. Got a strong background knowledge, etc. So tremendous effort and everything by him as well. I'd just like to acknowledge that. So there's no further questions or debate on that. Probably I put that to there. Councillor Kelly, you're moving 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, thank you. So take your seconding 1 through 5. All those in favour? Carried. Four point 1.1 Flinders Mobile Library Service Agreement 1 July 2024 to 30 June 2027. Response received from Northern Areas Council for requested information. Okay, so we have 3 parts to that motion. Do I have a mover for 4.1? Councillor Dan, thank you. Councillor, take your second.
Just be clear what I'm moving.
Yes, I'm just going to come back to that.
Jackie.
Sorry,
So I think Dan's picked up
I'm going to ask that.
that point 3 needs to be.
Yes.
Thanks, Lou. What I'm moving is points 1 and 2 and an amended point 3, which I'll read if that's okay.
Yes, please.
The short version is in the first line, remove or otherwise and insert for 12 months. So it would be points 1 and 2 as printed. Point 3 determines determine it wishes. I suppose there's another small change there. Remove that S. Its wishes, okay.
So it's that council.
Determines its wishes in regard to the renewal for 12 months of a service agreement with Flinders Mobile Library, etc.
Thank you. Cool. Councillor Tate, you're
Yes.
seconding that?
I would only
Yeah, hang- just hold.
support receiving and noting the report. Not the other 2 points.
Okay, I'll just come back to you in a moment if I can.
Yeah.
Sorry, may I just, I'm unclear what the motion is.
Yes, please. So Sandra captured over.
So through the chair, I think I've captured this correctly. So it's been moved by councillor Benos Pelican that we receive and note the report as 1. Number 2, as printed within the agenda, which notes the 13 May correspondence received from the Northern Areas Council providing a response to council's request for further information, i.e. A and B, as printed. And 3, determines its wishes in regard to the renewal for 12 months of a service agreement with the Flinders Mobile Library Service at a cost to the Mount Remarkable community of approximately $105,500 per annum. Yeah, that's clear.
Which will be 41 years.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, per annum.
Yep, that's moved councillor Benos Pelican and no seconder at this point.
No,
Jack, you still got
yes,
Thank you. So the point of point 3 was to elicit from council tonight what their wish was.
correct.
I'm
Which is
recommending.
what we've just done on
12 months.
I'm recommending one. We don't have council's response to it.
No, so the intention was for council to have a discussion tonight to work out what its wish was, and there were some options spelled out on page 493 of the agenda to assist council have that discussion. So you could leave, like, if you want to have that discussion and then determine what your point 3 is saying, then you've got the one resolution.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't have.
It's up to council, of course, but that was.
So I'm trying to
Yes, I do.
circumvent some of that.
Absolutely.
Put a proposal forward and I mean,
Okay.
if it's not supported, so there. But
I still need a second. Okay, still need to go back to a seconder for that because there was an amendment to that before I called that one before councillor Tate, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure, we did want
actually 1 and 2, but I personally think that we should just be my motion, had I put my hand up quicker, would have been that we just renew the agreement for 3 years.
Okay,
And, yeah,
all right.
No, I don't
I consider 12 months is better than
Well,
what we
the mayor will
get, but
guide us through that
anyway.
conversation.
Okay, what I'm looking for, is there a seconder for councillor Dan's motion? The answer is councillor Schultz. Yep, we can have a mover and a seconder. Yeah, so do you wish to speak further on this?
I'd only like to say that I would like to see more information than what we got, and that 12 months, that gives us breathing time to actually try and get some better figures and a better idea before we commit any further.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I'll make a little comment on here if I can, and then I'll go further on to that. So one of the things that we have to do, and be very conscious about the cost to council. This is not about not having the service. It is about how we best deliver it with the available monies that we've got, and are there any other options available to us and also to the broader Flinders Mobile Library use. There are some things out there that could and should be perhaps explored. One of those is the potential of corporate sponsorship, etc. So we're looking to buy some time to do that. The second part of that is we need to provide some certainty for at least 1 year, I believe, for those people that do work and are employed by the Flinders Library, so that we do not disrupt their employment in the short term. I think that's really important. So if there's any further questions on that debate, we have a mover and a seconder for that. Any further questions?
May I speak to the motion? Is that right?
Sure.
Procedurally, sorry, through the
Yes,
chair,
sir.
that will close the debate.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't spoken to it at the start. It would close the debate if it was my finishing comment.
Through the chair, in moving it, that's your opportunity to speak to it, so mayor's discretion, but that would close the debate for the secretary.
Thank you.
I thought as a mover you could have a right of reply at the end.
I wasn't quick enough to use it. That's Sam's suggesting.
Yeah, so
Whatever reason, I missed the chance to talk at the start. I will.
I will give
And
you,
Sam's point is,
But I thought all of us could have had a point to speak. We haven't, the rest of us haven't been asked.
exactly. So I'll come back to councillor Dan to close the debate.
Yeah.
Okay, so just steady. My question stands. Are there any further questions or debate on this matter before I go back to the mover to close the debate? I have a question. So do you wish to speak or not?
Well, yes, I do. I suppose I'm just reiterating what I've said before and said at last month's meeting. I believe it's important service, and while we might be saying we're not getting rid of the service, I think that anything that works to undermine it, and if I think $105,000 is a small amount of money in comparison to the budget and perhaps other areas of the budget that could be reviewed and perhaps trimmed back. And to me, and feedback from community is that it's an essential service, not only for educational purposes, but for social connection. And I think that the Northern Areas Council has been very forthcoming, and they've provided us sufficient information that we can work on. And I think we should be just biting the bullet and committing for the full 3-year funding of this service, and not devaluing something that's important to the community. So I think that's what we're doing.
Thank you. Noted. Thank you. Councillor Keller.
Thank you, Mayor. We asked the questions from northern areas and we got quite a comprehensive response. And I don't think we need to doubt, if you read Mayor Sue Scarman's letter to us, the benefits that this library provides to our communities. $300,000. We contributed $300,000 from this council to the rail trail to go that support the federal and state money. Now, I'm sure there are more users of the library than this other facility, but you know, they are facilities for our ratepayers that we've got in our community. This, I believe that we should be renewing library contract for another 3 years for the figures that have been given to us. We also received all the data. It's not about the number of people that subscribe. If we look, there's monthly data on the amount of books or e-videos that are actually used from every town. And our communities can read by the number of books that are taken out every month. So I think the data we asked for has been provided. I know we're looking at, ways to cut costs, but I think this is essential service to our community. If we were to have a local community library, the figures that have been given to us, it would be costing for double the money to have a community library that it is to have this mobile library. And while it's the only one in South Australia, quite unique, it is probably the cheapest library in the state. So the figures don't lie, and I fully support subscribing to it, sign the contract, for another 3 years.
Okay, thank you.
I'd just like to say I fully agree with you, Sheridan. Fully agree.
Councillor Dan, back to you.
Yeah, thanks. Look, I respect everybody's views on this, and we kind of all know how we all feel on this because we've been discussing it for quite a while. To wrap up the debate and in response to things that have been said, I have no desire to devalue the service, none whatsoever. I'd like to think this can run for 10 or 20 years if it's a good model that evolves, well enough. The answers, the information that we got from Northern Area is fantastic, very, very helpful, and particularly the bit about the Act that says that actually would be illegal to charge users, but I assume none of us knew that before. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't look for ways to share the cost. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't, as the Mayor suggested, perhaps pursue some sponsorship towards it. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't consider asking the Education Department, because it goes to all of those schools, whether it would be appropriate for the Education Department to contribute to the cost because it supplements the library. In fact, it saves the Education Department money. So my proposal is not about devaluing the service. It's not about trying to have it only run for 1 year. It's actually about trying to find a sensible way that it can run for much, much longer than that, because we don't even know whether we can afford it at the moment. We haven't even agreed on a draft budget to go out for public consultation at this point in time. We don't know what feedback is going to be. We don't know whether we can afford to do this or not, in my opinion. Now, I respect the fact that 2 members have spoken and one has indicated that they think we should spend the money. I don't think at this point in time that we can say that we want to spend the money, because we actually don't even know how much money we've got. We've got things in our budget which, to be quite blunt, I wouldn't be surprised if some members here haven't recognised yet about our budget. I don't know, does everybody here know that in the budget, between Budget Review 2 and Budget Review 3, there's an extra $639,000 cost associated with the Northern Passenger Transport handover proposed? Perhaps not everybody knows that. If everybody did know that, would people still want to spend $300,000 on this library? Maybe the answer is yes, and if that was your answer, so be it. But I think what we need to do is commit to 1 year, because I don't want it to stop. If we hold it up at this point, then next year is in question, next financial year is in question, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm suggesting let's commit for next year, then let's figure out what we can afford or how we can find potentially a way of sharing the cost so that we can make sure that we can do this for the long term. Because I guarantee you, if we locked into something like this, then we find out in 2 years' time that ASCOSA tells us that, we're unsustainable and we need to do this. It might well be, we might just be told, get rid of that program. Whereas if we find a way for year 2, 3, ideally 4, 5, 6, 10, etc., to go on in another financial way where council and ratepayers don't cover the full cost as it is at the moment, regardless of whether it might be great value. So I'm not disagreeing with that. I actually do think it's very good value, but let's make it better value because our budget is in all sorts of bother at the moment. So let's lock in for year one. Let's leave our options open to find other ways for years 2 and 3, and ideally years 10 and 20 as well.
Thank you. That concludes the debate on that. Thank you. We come to the point where we have to put that to the vote. We have that amended motion there. Have you got that? You can read it back out again. Just make sure that we're clear on that, please.
1 and 2, sorry, through the chair, 1 and 2 is as printed in the agenda, and recommendation 3 is moved and seconded is determines, so that council determines its wishes in regard to the renewal for 12 months of a service agreement with the Flinders Mobile Library Service at a cost to the Mount Remarkable community of approximately 105,500 per annum.
Thank you. Okay. I put that to the vote. All those in favour? Okay, 3. We can call division on that. All those in favour stand. Okay. We got that for the record? Yep. Okay. And we have 3 against. And you have to provide me some advice on this one.
So through the chair, in the event of a tied vote, particularly following a division, and no member has changed their vote, you will be required, or we will be required to represent the report at the next available council meeting, where we hope to get a decision.
Not an ideal outcome. Okay, thank you. Your advice, members are clear on that advice? Yes, hands up that we're clear on that advice. Would be good. Okay, Councillor Keller. The EMs.
Through the chair, that report will come back as presented within this agenda to the June council meeting.
Can I ask a question in relation to that? Do we have to confirm our, is there an obligation by June that we have to confirm the contract in regards to this, and where will we stand if that's not done, or what's the timeframe?
Do you answer that? Jackie, please.
So as per the report, the service agreement expires 30 June.
It is 30 June.
The process we've gone through is now we can't confirm,
No.
Before.
but in the way that we might have been able to.
Which will be a bit of an emotional challenge that I expect for those people that are working there. So, okay, anyway, thank you. Moving on to 4.12, draft 2024-2025 annual business plan and budget for community consultation. We have I'm just going to a little bit of information here I'm going to read out. Just members are reminded that whilst we are seeking to adopt a draft annual business plan and budget, it is for public consultation, which also allows during that period the elected members time, if required, to further comment on components of the budget. So be very clear about this. Any material changes at this point, not i.e. being this evening, will not give us an opportunity to fully understand what the impact on the numbers would be. Additionally, there is a scheduled briefing session on 14 June, which could be utilised if required to assist members with any further questions and or understanding that has not already been explained. This is outside of the already scheduled sessions, which will allow us to hear directly from members of the public who choose to make submissions and or present to council at the special council meeting 25 June. So just being very clear that there is still significant opportunity, everybody, to make sure that their points, questions, inputs are taken into account. So moving back to that, there are 5 parts to that motion of 4.12. Do I have a mover for 4.12? Councillor Keller.
Just point 1, Mayor, received some notes of report.
Okay. So do I have a second? Councillor Keller's move that we receive and note the report. Councillor Tate. Thank you. Councillor Keller, do you wish to speak to that?
Yes, please. I don't have a problem with it going out to public consultation. I don't want to hold this draft up. But I personally have a problem with some of the figures in there. And I have discussed it with management just recently. I personally would like to see some changes made. We'll see what the report comes back from ratepayers after it's been out for public consultation and they look at it. But I have an issue with plant and fleet replacement of $1.25 million. Now, while our adopted asset management plans might tell us to replace equipment at certain times, John Comrie made the comment in the Audit and Risk Committee a couple of times, and he even emphasised that if you can't afford it, you can defer things, whether it be road resheeting or whether it be plant replacement. And there's things in there that if we just go through the list quickly, Mayor, I've spoken to the CEO, there's a grader. Now, considering our budget is going into bridges and not road resheeting next year, we're being told it's all about maintenance. We do not know what the maintenance is going to consist of or the extent of it, but I can be assured that Michael, our Director of Infrastructure, is working on it, and I look forward to a report of what is planned for next year. And I think that perhaps a new grader could be very worthwhile in that. I hope so. But we've got one fleet admin vehicle. We've got 3 fleet depot vehicles. I think could be deferred. We've got a fuel trailer that's there to support a grader. We've got 1 road maintenance tip truck, which was a different one than I thought of. Now, we've had it for a while and it's done a lot of work. We've got a couple of very good mechanics and operators in our fleet. I'd like to hear from them through the Director of Infrastructure whether that truck is serviceable for another year or not. Things that we can defer out of this current budget. And then there's a lawnmower. Now, I'm assuming that will get plenty of work come this spring with our gardens and parks maintenance. Now, we've got painting of halls and minor buildings, which we've discussed at our workshops. There's furniture and equipment. A lot of that is IT. Contracted services for IT at $216,000. Now, I understand there's currently a review happening with Flinders Alliance, and I'll wait to hear what they can come up with, because to me, that's a lot of money to pay for IT support. And then we've got contracted services for finance at $380,000. This is things that we're outsourcing rather than doing in-house. I've asked the question whether more can be done in-house in regards to this. So I believe there's work that can be done on this budget, and I'd like to hear perhaps after the community's had their say of what Michael and the CEO come back to us with any suggestions where we can alter this $1.25 million figure and perhaps even halve it. No, the grader's going to cost half. So, but I think we really seriously need to look at all our equipment and vehicles and review it all. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I ask just a process question, please?
Sure.
If Councillor Keller's motion for point 1 is supported, the rest of them fall away. Does that mean it does not go?
I'm going to ask that same question of the CEO for his advice on this one.
Thank you through the chair. Thank you for the question. In the absence of a member foreshadowing that they intend to move any of the subsequent recommendations, then yes, it is correct, they would.
Yes.
Do you want them to go to public consultation or not?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
And you might like to move some of those others as well. Then.
Yeah, and then we'll have to come back to the others. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the advice, is we'll now have to deal with one independently, and then I'll put the remainder to a motion.
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Tate.
I just pretty much what councillor Keller raised, I agree with. I think there could be cost cutting with fleet. I have asked numerous occasions in regards to consultants' cost, even though there is a breakdown. I'd like to see a further breakdown and a review of what their costs are in comparison to employing staff internally, because we just seem to be outsourcing continually. And I think that as a council with a small budget, that we're sort of putting about $900,000 into contracted services is something that perhaps we need to question. Also, I just feel that the draft itself doesn't provide enough information. I'd like to see it tightened up and some better numbers being put forward to community so they can sort of evaluate it a lot better than what's here. It's very similar to last year's budget. We had responses last year back that community doesn't feel that, you know, the pie charts really tell them anything much as to how we're truly spending the money.
No, thank you. Just for a point of clarity on that $900,000 that you just quoted.
Yeah.
We've had this topic numerous times and coding becomes a bit of a challenge here, but 670,000 of that $900,000 is waste management.
But waste management is listed separate to that. If you look at the contracted services to 800,000, you've got waste services listed above at 603.
Can you address that question for me?
So through the chair, and Ken, I know we've discussed this numerous times at budget briefing sessions and with councillor Tate previously, but they're in referencing consultants, as councillor Tate has rightly raised previously, that 900,000 headline figure does include a substantial amount, as you just quoted, which relates to council's waste management services, which is essentially curbside collection, which we have with Clear Valley Waste. And then, of course, there are contracted services, which we have at the request of council, stipulated out further. We don't have a requirement to, but we've done it for transparency purposes to make sure that the public can easily identify some of those further costs, which is highlighted within the annual budget and business plan, to indicate that the number of consultants we use is actually very, very minimal. But the contracted services, as rightly pointed out by councillor Tate, is correct. And that's been explained as to why we've done that and why those strategies have been deployed to council at briefing sessions previously.
Thank you. Okay. So if there's any further questions or debate on that motion that councillor Keller has put forward, at one, we receive and note the report. There's no further questions or debate on that point. I will put that to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried. I will now call for a mover for points 2, 3, 4 and 5. Do I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Keller, thank you. I didn't miss my paper here, Councillor Keller. Okay, do I have a seconder for points 2, 3, 4 and 5? Councillor Dan, thank you. Do you wish to speak any further? No, thank you. Councillor Dan, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, I do. Thanks, Mayor. Budgeting's frustrating, right? Especially when money's really, really tight. Doesn't matter if it's a family, a big corporation or a small council. And I really appreciate and respect the intent of everybody working through this process together. Nonetheless, it's frustrating for me. It's frustrating for others. It's always frustrating if you had lots of money. It wouldn't be frustrating. It'd be quite easy then. So we do have to work through these things. I'm not satisfied that the budget is where it needs to be. If tonight we were being asked to endorse a draft to become the budget, I would not support it. But I do support the best draft that we've got at the moment going out for public consultation. And I say again tonight, as I did 12 months ago, that some of the hardest work actually happens after the public consultation comes back. So we've got this draft, goes out, we get the feedback, we'll get some other extra resources. And with all due respect to the current CEO, he will not mind me saying this, we will have an acting CEO that will bring in some other experience and expertise as well, directly related to the things that Councillor Keller is is commenting on tonight. So we will get the benefit of two CEOs and other staff, of course, but two CEOs, one with strengths over here and one with strengths over here, before we actually have to finalise it. So we're fortunate to be able to do that. There's a lot more in this budget than I think all 7 councillors are aware of, to be really blunt. And I encourage people to go through it again and again and again. And I'm not suggesting that I am 100% on top of it either, by the way. None of us are perfect, but let's do the very best we can to look at the challenges that we've got. And let's really put our thinking caps on. Let's have as many briefing sessions as we need between now and whatever the absolute last date is in August, I think, to endorse a budget before we start to really run into some strife. We've got lots of work to do, and in subsequent briefing sessions, I go into more detail with some of my frustrations, suggestions, whatever. We'll work it through together, but we've got a lot of work to do still.
Indeed. Thank you. And I concur with that. So thank you. If there's any further questions or debate on that at this point in time, appears to be no. Councillor Keller, I'll close the debate. That's a vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Councillor. Thank you. Carry. Thank you. And I'll reiterate, we have significant opportunity to go through those points. So thank you. 4.13, draft long-term financial plan 24-25 to 2033-34 for community consultation. It's essentially the same as above. The council receives and makes the report and endorses the draft long. Endorses the draft long-term financial plan 24-25, 2033 to 2034 as presented at attachment 1 to the report for community consultation. We're not adopting the long-term financial plan. We're putting it out for community consultation as part of the draft budget and annual business plan. And so we'll have a mover for 4.13, please. Councillor Schultz. Do I have a second for that, please? Councillor Dan. Councillor Schultz, do you wish to speak about that?
I think it's fairly straightforward, that part.
Thank you. Councillor Dan.
No, thanks, Graham.
Okay. Any further questions or debate on that one? Okay, thank you. So I put that to the vote. All those in favour? 4.13. Thank you. Carried. Okay. Okay, 5 motions and questions. 5.1 motions of which notice has been given. There are nil. 5.2 motions without notice. Any questions? Being nil. 5.3 questions with notice. Nil. Questions without notice. 5.4. Councillor Tate.
Yeah, I just want to ask a question, what Councillor Dan said before in regards to Northern Passenger Transport Network. Was that correct that it was $639,000 that is outstanding or we still owe, or can I have clarification on?
We did have this clarification recently at a briefing workshop, but I will get the CEO to provide you with that further clarity.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Tate. Yes, and the Mayor is correct. As per Budget Review 3, the numbers were factored in subject to a decision which is still yet to be made by Council. Council was made aware of the finalisation report which was coming to the June meeting. It's being discussed at the Flinders Alliance now for close to 12 months. It's also been reported every quarter within my CEO quarterly report that members have been receiving publicly. And we are now awaiting the finalisation from the stakeholder councils as previously advised for their agreements as to what we're proposing for the final acquittal of the Northern Passenger Special Reserve Fund. And that report is about to be circulated. We got confirmation from the chair of the Audit and Risk Committee today that will be circulated amongst Audit and Risk Committee members prior to the June meeting.
Yeah. Okay. And just a little bit further to that, and you might explain this better than I. At the completion of the Northern Passenger Transport Network, me checking that now, and with the expertise that we've got through LGIQ and a very, very significant review back through what was a lot of paperwork and process and very limited accurate reports that had to be reconstructed, that there is a substantial amount of money that was left over from that grants that have been provided to the Northern Passenger Transport Network. And whilst those grants have been acquitted, in essence, there are balances that need to be put in place for those other councils that have made contributions, etc., to DCMR, who were the manager of that particular part of the process, and to ensure, and this will come to the chamber, to ensure that we actually have appropriate, proper reconciliation of all of that. That is the number that's being proposed by the finance people for us to consider doing that, so that we do not profit out of grants, which we cannot and should not be doing, is my opinion. Is that accurate? Okay, thank you. So does that answer your question at this point in time? Thank you. Okay. At 6, members' communication, mayor's report. Do I have a mover for the mayor's report, please? Okay, Councillor Tate, thank you. Second for that, Councillor Keller, thank you. Okay, no further questions or debate on that. Put that to vote. All those in favour? Carried. 6.2, elected members' activity reports. I noticed there's a couple that must have missed the mail. So, do I have a mover for the elected members' activities reports? Thank you, Councillor Keller. Thank you. I'm happy to move that for as a seconder. Yeah. Do you have any questions? Councillor Keller? Okay. I have none either. No further questions for debate. Oh, Councillor.
Just with your comment about having missed the mail, Mayor, and I take zero offence whatsoever. Councillors might have realised that I've not put a claim in to a member of the council, so it's not not an omission or missing the mail or anything like that. It's just my decision not to claim those expense reimbursements, because I think that the annual fee that we get paid is more than enough to cover those expenses, and that's certainly my situation, my choice.
And thank you. And I was actually going to pose that, and it slipped my mind, I have to say, in that the process that comes in, as in we are claiming our reimbursement, etc. And I value your input on that particular one, of course. So, but I just think the activity is probably helpful out there for those. It's not just about collecting the reimbursement of council dues.
Yeah, I'm much the same as Dan, but I also will be dealing with Centrelink shortly, and I don't want to muddy the water anymore than necessary with Centrelink, but yeah, we do get reimbursed in a sense for our monthly one, and really we're representing our community, so that's my other reason for not claiming it.
Yeah, and absolutely, and I fully respect that, and that's great. And I guess we actually have two different languages for the report, because one is our reimbursement form, and then the other part of this is our activities report. So maybe we just keep that in mind, and it's about our activities. Councillor. Councillor. You can have my job if you like.
Just that you know that Councillor Nottle's activities should also include on 16 April he attended listening post question time council meeting, and on 18 April he attended men's shed.
Okay, thank you.
And can I just comment, like you said, the activity statement doesn't necessarily relate to someone requesting reimbursement, because it's about what people do. So I think all councillors should be putting it in, just so that doesn't mean you have to make a claim, but I think it just gives community an idea of what councillors are doing.
Indeed. I think it's just that language of the form.
Yeah, I think so the assumption is that if you've got something against you, that you've claimed for something against that. That's not the case.
Thank you. Right, there's no, councillor,
I'd just like to add a comment too. I value the activity reports from all the elected members and what they're involved in the community. And I'd still like to see it, and if it can be removed, if they wish it to be removed from their expense account, well, that's up to them, but I'd still like to see them do an activity report.
yeah, indeed, thank you. Right, no further questions or debate on that, I'll put that to vote, all those in favour, thank you, carried. 7 correspondence, there is nil,
No one,
we all missed the
no
mail,
one wrote to us.
all missed the mail. So,
We don't have any
8
dust, mate.
confidential items, there are nil. The next meeting, Tuesday, 18 June 2024 at 6 p.m. at the Wilmington Bowling Club, 49 Horrocks Highway, Wilmington. And then the special meeting Tuesday, 25 June 2024, 5 p.m. Melrose. I declare this meeting closed at 7:11 p.m. Thank you very much. Good work, everybody. Thank you to those that have put all those reports and everything together. Thank you for those in the gallery. Hope I've spoken up enough. I'm losing my voice. So, thank you, everybody. Good job. Well done.
And which is the best community out of the entire district?
Well, not Wilmington anymore. They got all the cockies. Nicely sent them all up.
That's right.
I think
She's trying to spoil our.
she's stitched you up, I think. Interestingly, we've not had them. I hope we get the odd one.
We've still got the buggers.
We started off with all of a sudden with